Hello and welcome to another episode of Chem Art, produced by SCT. On today's episode, we're going to introduce you to Glynn Goertzen, Vice President of Corporate Development, Innovation and Technology with Pilot Chemical. Glynn and I are going to discuss the challenges and roadblocks that come along with innovating new chemicals and new products. We're going to talk about how Pilot has a 65-year history of introducing game-changing products to the chemical industry. These products range in sectors from metalworking, agricultural, personal care, and energy. Have fun. We're all going to learn a lot today. Mr. Goertzen, welcome to Chem Art. We're glad to have you.
It's good to be here.
Glynn is Vice President of Corporate Development, Innovation and Technology, Pilot Chemical, founded in 1952. So I can't do math. That's over 66 years, I guess now.
Creeping up on 70.
70 years. Wow. So founded in Santa Fe Springs, California.
That's right.
So Mr. Morshrow was working at Purex at the time as a chemist and just had an idea for a brand new way to make sulfonated chemistry.
Yeah, he had a patent around DDBSA or LAS 99 and pitched the company a couple times. The detergent manufacturers seemed like it would be a good fit. They weren't interested and just was positive that he had something good and formed up a partnership with a couple other people and started Pilot.
Our topic today is innovation and technology and what it takes to bring a new product, new molecule to market. I mean, that's the history of Pilot right there.
It is, absolutely.
What challenges did he have? I mean, he had an idea. He knew what he wanted to do. So how did he get that to market?
Yeah, I think that was kind of where they started was, imagine, hey, I've got a great idea.
Right.
Great idea for the company. And then the company really has no interest in the idea at all, ends up being able to buy the patent out from the company. Then the idea of who do we sell this to? Who will be interested? There's got to be others. Was able to form up with a couple other people. He was a chemist, found some people that were more commercial, and eventually landed business at Lever Brothers, Los Angeles, that really got them started.
Oh, wow. So they were making product for Lever Brothers or making and selling to Lever Brothers.
That's right. So
that's a large company.
Yeah, they started with them, and that was maybe a double-edged sword because for I think for about 4 years that was largely their account, and then just with zero notice, Lever Brothers said, "Hey, we're shutting this plant down. We don't need any more product." And so now it was like, how do you reinvent yourself? How do you find other places to go? So again, an opportunity to reinvent themselves.
Right. So you have to go back to the innovation block, reinvent what you're doing, and in this time, I know in the late 60s and then early 70s, you had tons of disruption globally. You had an oil embargo in the late 70s, which is not too different from where we are today, sitting with lack of material, can't get products. How did Pilot respond to those challenges at that time?
Yeah, well, we'd branched out for sure, and as Pilot grew, they'd started to move east. They'd bought 2 locations in Houston, Texas. They'd built plants in Lockland, Ohio, Cincinnati, Ohio area, and then the embargo hit, and couldn't get LAB. Primary feedstock, zero LAB. So invention, decided we could make our own LAB in our alkylation plant, made what some consider maybe the worst LAB of all time.
Exactly.
And the upside of that was we had made a product that had a lot of bottoms, a lot of heavies. Right. Normal product 3 to 5%. This was probably upwards of 20% bottoms. And just so happened that was kind of the front end of the Alaska pipeline kind of work that was going on. And we got some inquiries about making products that would require heavies, started to create these products that mimicked some Conoco-type products, and ended up selling those into metalworking, lube-type applications for the Alaska pipeline, and that got us started on our Aristonate line of products.
So actually an accident became one of the greatest selling product lines Pilot's ever had.
Pretty good, yeah. And it allowed us to, again, use that SO2, SO3 technology. Hey, what can we do with this technology, make something turn out okay?
Again, the old saying, necessity breeds innovation. I mean, we're seeing it today. We're seeing it today. We'll touch on that a little later. So flash forward, Pilot's a family-held business. Mr. Morrisroe's son, Paul, comes into the business and really goes after another new market into the CalFax line. Right. Yeah, talk about that. That was a game changer for you guys also from, again, a technology point.
Yeah, really two sons in the business. Oldest brother, Pete, was really more of a commercial guy, kind of like, hey, what else could we do? Where else could we be selling? Paul, our chairman today, really a technical guy, chemical engineer by trade, and kind of started looking at things that were out there. What's the next thing we can do? We'd learned what we could do with that alkylation distillation facility. And as kind of the environment changed, chlorinated solvents kind of became a no-no. There was a lot of people out there trying to figure out how to replace chlorinateds in certain manufacturing processes. And diphenyl oxide, which was big time used here in the Dalton textile carpet backing industry.
Exactly.
Was one of those products, and we thought SO2, SO3, or Paul really thought SO2, SO3 was a way to do that, and literally, kind of went back into the lab and started playing around with it to see, could we kind of crack that nut?
Yeah, I know here, CalFax DB45
right.
was the emulsion polymerization product, still is. I mean, that's what goes into carpet backing latex every day.
Yeah, and when I started with Pilot, really 22 plus years ago, the pilgrimages to Dalton were an important part of every.
You saw Dalton in its prime.
Oh, absolutely, for sure.
It's changed a lot now, but it was in its heyday. It was a pretty interesting place.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, there was a lot of stuff coming out of this, a lot of carpet coming out of this town, and now so much carpet as much as hard surface flooring now. So where we are now, where Pilot sits now, you've got your base of products, the Aristinates, CalFax, CalSoft, the CalFoams, all the sulfonated products. But then you guys made an acquisition and got really heavy into the disinfecting quat market. Right. Was that something that was on the horizon for a while? Was that something that, the lab said, this is going to take too long for us to organically enter into the market. Let's purchase this. How did that go about? Because that was really almost an innovation and technology through acquisition, which new. It's completely different for you guys.
Yes and no. It was really one of our customers. Like so much of innovation, we were on a sales call in Reading, PA, with a really good customer, and they said, this is 1999, and they said, love working with you guys, but boy, the missing piece for you is quats. You need to buy Mason. And I was like, wow. I don't think the customer knows we don't have any money. So we're not going to be buying Mason anytime soon. But
I know a guy from our last episode that could have helped that out.
Yeah, that's right. We heard lots of money available, and lots of money available today. But I think for us, that sort of put them on the radar screen was another privately held, family-run business. And a nice piece if we were going to compete with some of our primary competitors that had that and used that a lot of times against us, the lack of having those products. So fast forward to 2011, 2012, a lot of things were changing for them as well. We're able to end up striking a deal, and great combination.
That was a really good acquisition for you guys, and timing last year in the rise of COVID probably didn't hurt either.
It's not terrible to be a biocide manufacturer during a time where disinfecting is paramount.
You made us all realize exactly how unclean the country really was, and maybe the world at that time.
It's true, and but I think the uncertain part now is, hey, what's the new normal going to look like? And that's where, we're back to innovating, because, hey, if people are going to use these products more and more, they're thinking, hey, how do I use something that's, a little more gentle, a little less, irritating? How do I find things that I don't have to concern myself with? Are there natural alternatives?
So let's talk about a year ago. You had the Mason acquisition. You had a company. You were producing products, and then all of a sudden you have a massive global demand for probably a limited amount of supply that you could produce. How did you handle that? How did you ramp up? How did you increase production? What did that feel like as you were going through it?
Yeah, well, I think, March, when we all started shutting down, I mean, that was the, scary days for sure for all of us, because I don't think anybody had a great idea, hey, what's this hold for us? The plus side for us, even more than maybe that deal in 2011, was the end of 2019, we bought Organocentesis in Mexico, and they were a producer of benzalkonium chloride, which was very big in hand sanitizer. And, as we started to ramp up the orders for that product, I mean, literally, we sold more in a month than we'd sold in years. The struggle, for us and for everybody else was, how do we get the feedstocks we need to keep doing that? So we blew through our inventories, feedstocks, and then it was like, boy, how do we keep our customers afloat? Because there was just an insatiable appetite.
Yeah, you couldn't. I mean, everybody wanted as much product as they could, as quickly as they could, and then managing the logistics of that had to be just an absolute nightmare.
I think for us it was, and maybe the same for you guys, was as a 70-year-old company, it was, hey, let's remember who got us here. And so as we were getting inquiries from everywhere, let's try as best we can to prioritize customers of record, because, the inquiries were, coming out of the woodwork, and people that had never been interested in us before were all of a sudden very interested. And we knew that could be very short-lived.
Right. So with the really rise in the demand for the quads, did anything change as far as customer requests? Did they say, we need something that's going to work better, be more effective on an unknown virus? Were you having those conversations as well?
Yeah, well, obviously people wanted to be able to make COVID claims, and that was where, to a degree, the EPA really stepped up, in that they kind of fast forwarded things, got things on the end list, which was, allowing people to begin to make claims, begin to, be out there and add products to their formulations. But I think the biggest thing was our customers knew what they were doing, knew what they needed to do. It was just how quickly could they get the claims in place. And I think for us, kind of a couple years ago, we had started to staff up in our registration groups, really invest in being able to get those claims, get kill times down, be able to help customers change labels.
Yeah, because that was historically a big barrier to entry for a lot of companies into that market, was the EPA and FDA. Yeah. So the FDA just really stepped up their game and started making things a lot easier and getting claims done faster.
Yeah, and that was, maybe one of the products of the Mexican purchase that we had, because, Organocentesis was very familiar with how to operate with FDA rules, regulations, and then we'd really put together a strong team on EPA compliance.
That's fantastic. Now, you guys purchased a polymer research center.
Yeah.
Recently, in the last
2017.
What has that brought to Pilot from a new technology perspective?
Pilot Polymer Technologies. It's been interesting in that, that was really focused on oil and gas initially, fracking type chemistry. And I think for us, we've had a lot more interest around residual cleaning, things that we might be able to do in that space. And so I'd say, maybe a bit of a pivot as far as rheology modifiers, this residual cleaning capabilities. I think we're just trying to look at different things, but the polymer purchase is probably a kind of the long play here.
Well, that had a lot of patents involved with it, and that's the other thing that a lot of people don't understand when customers are asking for new technology. We want new technology. We want new technology. I'm not sure they all understand how long that takes to develop. And if claims are involved, if patents are involved, it's insane. I mean, these things, it can take a year to develop at minimum, and then a year to get approved. You just can't just introduce a new molecule to the world.
No, the claims are interesting, just on that one, because there's all those rules that are like, hey, put your tests in place, have your protocols, have third-party testing done, then submit to EPA. We'll get back to you in 6 months, 21 days. Not 6 months, not 7 months, 6 months, 21 days, we'll get back to you.
Very specific.
Very specific. And so kind of interesting. And then patents, it's been interesting seeing that one, because I'd say we were probably amongst those. We had some history in patents, but, Pilot's historically been a, trade secrets, know-how type company. And as you start patenting formulations or things you're putting together, you're right. The pipeline is long, and it takes a lot of, committed resources.
Well, from a commercial standpoint, you have to look at it and say, okay, I'm going to invest, $5 million into the development of this product that we hope the market is going to want.
Right. Want in 5 years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a big gamble.
Yeah.
That's why I think we're seeing a rise in partnerships now. It's like a shared cost now between a lot of small and large companies. It's, company A is really good and has a lot of history in one sector, and company B has a better commercialization and maybe a better market space that can drive that product, introduction to the market, just because the cost is outrageous for basically a gamble.
And you're not experts in all those spaces. I like, it's a bit passe, but, our chairman's always been a big proponent of kind of continuous improvement, but also like continuous innovation, incremental, innovation, instead of just everything being a home run. Hey, let's not necessarily try to invent Kevlar. Let's try to do something incremental here that answers customer needs, or at least have that as part of our pipeline.
Right. I think that's important, and that goes back to his chemist background. It's a very methodical approach to growth. So as we're introducing new products, we're targeting new products to bring to market. How are you handling with not only customers, but you're all internal labs? And did you stay fully staffed through the COVID quarantine? Are you having difficulty getting customers to, accept new products?
That's probably been the biggest challenge, because our customers have had their hands full. They've seen all of a sudden, changing needs, or just lack of needs. The HI&I market saw restaurants, schools, hospitality all closed down, and so they didn't know what to expect out there. Then they saw the freight crises. Then they saw, the Houston freeze and some of the raw material things. And so, going out then trying to talk to customers about new and next. Hey, I've got a full plate right now. Talk to me in 6 months.
That's right. They're just trying to cover what they have in front of them. Well, we're seeing the same things. We've got a backlog of new ideas, as our R&D labs did not stop working.
Right.
So it gave a good time to work on the out of the box ideas. So I think hopefully once we can get through the crisis we're going through now, things are going to get back to somewhat normal, hopefully at the end of this year, and definitely in 22.
I think so. I think we've got a lot of stuff in the pipeline, eager to talk to customers. We're trying to be very targeted about it, because we know, hey, if we haven't heard them talking about an unmet need, we might bring it up, but we're not trying the heavy pitch right now, because it's just falling on deaf ears in a lot of cases.
So we're hearing a lot about the increase in oil and gas production. Things are starting to come back a little bit with that from the slowdown from when no one was traveling or trucks weren't necessarily on the highway. Now we can't get enough fuel. We're having fuel shortages again. It's just a roller coaster effect. How is that impacting the new products for your energy sector?
Yeah, we have an oil and gas pod in Pittsburgh, which we focused on that segment, coming out with launching 3 new products in that space. And I think we've seen that a lot of that is production chemicals related, things that people are using, slurries for friction reducers, wax reductions, things of those lines. And I think, we've seen good attention there, good interest level, because as it picks back up, the people that survived are in pretty good shape. Right. They were well suited for it, eager to kind of take advantage of this upswing.
Right. On the home care side, you guys introduced a new Aspire line of detergent surfactants for targeted at home care. Again, we go back to people are just trying to keep the shelves stocked with what they have and keeping up demand. Has that been impacted with that? Is that taking off like you had envisioned?
Well, when you launch a new product, you always kind of have your metrics about, hey, how is this successful? Are we doing are we making progress? So we're getting the audience with the customer. We're getting the opportunities to talk about it. We're getting the sample requests. We get people formulating and engaged, talking about it. But I'd say it's been slower than we had initially thought when we first came out. But I think those products, are just in the right wheelhouse. They're concentrates, they're, high active. I think they address a lot of the concerns people had about 1,4-dioxane and some of those, as far as the harshness of some of the products out there. So
it checks a lot of boxes. I mean, everyone wants as high as active as it can possibly be, because freight right now is 4 times what it was. So shipping water is just not cost effective anymore.
And I think one of the things that's kind of going to be exciting there is when you have products that are this concentrated, it opens up geography for us, because a lot of our Calfoam line, it really can't travel. It's a great North American product, but logistics start to weigh pretty heavy on it. Whereas when you have products that are this concentrated, it's not going to kill us to have a dime of freight to send this someplace else.
Right. So Pilot, as we discussed, still and now we're in generation 3 of a family business. So what's it? We're a family business. I always have to ask this question: what's it like working for a family business?
For me personally, having worked 20 plus years here, it's been a great opportunity, great experience. I think we are, pretty fortunate in that we have a family that's committed to staying in the business, and so we've spent a lot of money last 10 years on infrastructure, on capital. And, the family did a lot of work to make sure that the company could stay private. And so having the third generation in the business, active in the business, in important roles, it's a kind of a good feeling, and it builds a good culture.
I love the fact that they're all active. They're not just sitting on the sidelines, not engaged in the company. I mean, they know the people in the business.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's unique, and that's incredibly important. So 22 plus years, what made you want to go in this route in the chemical industry?
Yeah, good question. I came to the company in a actually distribution sales manager role. I was working for North American Chemical, which was a Kerr-McGee spinoff, and I was on the NACD supplier advisory panel, and got recruited by Pilot to fill a role, really as they tried to build up their distribution sales. Ended up taking other commercial roles, sales manager, VP sales, VP commercial over time. And, start with a company, $40-50 million company, and, along for the ride as we grew. And so just, it's always been a new challenge every day, never, putting your foot in the same river twice kind of thing. So it's been exciting.
So you're over the the technology and innovation sector, and also corporate development. What is the corporate development side of that? What are you tasked with on that end?
Well, I think, I describe what we're trying to do and why that connection works for us, because I think a lot of that innovation that will be out there is so many new things. You look at the bio-based products, biosurfactants, there's all these new plays out there. And I think we've spent a lot of time over the last 5 years really looking at our strategy. Where do we want to go? Where are our customers directing us? Where aren't we now? And I think as we look at the different technologies out there, it sort of fits hand in glove with M&A and the things we're going to try to do sustainability-wise, or, as we kind of pivot the business.
Yeah, you guys had a big push at the end of last year on really promoting your sustainability structure and what you're doing with regards to the credits and everything you guys are looking at. You go into that a little bit more.
We're really proud of making a start there. I think companies a lot of times get themselves in trouble, and that you jump in and you bite off more than you can chew. And I think a lot of where we've spent our time and energy is, hey, let's set goals that there might not be duplicates of what everybody else is doing, but they mean something to us. And I think what was kind of surprising was how much energy came from our employees on this topic. This was, a lot of times, you get into the mission, vision kind of stuff. That's, top down. This was something that, one of, the family members, Sarah, had kind of led and really engaged a pretty broad section of our employees, and got so much zeal from, people that it was kind of surprising.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Because I know you guys, every year, it seems like in Cincinnati, you're one of the top places to work. Pilot Chemical is always on that list, so that, listening to the employees and getting them engaged in something as important as that is really nice to hear.
Well, you figure out you're a manufacturing company, but a lot of the people that work at your company aren't chemists and engineers, and so they've got different interests. Why do they choose to work here? Why do they stay engaged? And I think the company's invested time and energy in figuring out what's going to be important to all employees. And
that's right.
It's interesting for kind of this younger group of recruits that as they come in, there was employees on the sustainability side that said, hey, that factors in to literally every purchase I make.
That's true.
And it was like, wow, okay.
That is amazing. And that's another plus to, a family business. The family's, heart is in what they do, not only for their community, the environment, and also for their work family as well. So, well, Glynn, thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming in, stopping by.
Yeah.
It's a rainy day out, but we've had a lot of fun and learned a lot. So, be sure to check out Pilot Chemical on the web. All the information you need will be there. Thanks, Glynn.
Thank you.